What is up? This is alertwolf here to bring you another review. And this one is of Tron Uprising episode 19. This one is called Terminal. And this may be the last episode of the show or the season finale. But I'll get into that at the end because I have a whole rant about what was done to this show. Alright. But let me take you into the episode itself. Okay, so Beck and Tron are sparring. Tron goes down. The virus that's killing him is starting to eat him alive. They put him in the machine to heal him. The machine almost blows up. It doesn't work. The reason is, remember, Abel's dead. So Abel's the one who designed and fueled the machine, and he's no longer here. So now we have Tron tells that his fight with Cyrus has left him more weak than he thought, and he probably only has 2 days to live. Meanwhile, back at the garage, they're mourning the death of Abel, and there's the debate going on. Paige is basically saying, or excuse me, not Paige, Mira. Sorry, I got the chicks confused on you. Mira is basically blaming Beck for this. Now, Zed, whose character is showing some development. He's backing up the Renegade. He's saying this doesn't make any sense. Why would the Renegade do this? And Bex goes, I'm gonna have to agree with Zed. You're right. This doesn't make sense because the people in the garage are angry. And she yells at Beck for never being around. So the next thing that goes down is Beck is cleaning out Abel's locker, and right next to Abel's locker was his other buddy who died at the beginning of the show. So both their lockers are together, and it's one of those things, you know, and he's packing it up, and he gets startled by Zed, and Zed's like, listen man, we don't have to clean out the locker now, why don't we leave it here and be like he's still here watching over us. And you see, what I like is Zed is becoming a stronger character. He's supporting his, you know, I guess once he got over the pettiness of his character and the jealousy that was plaguing him, it's like a nobility was sparked in him. And he's the person he always should have been. And so I like to see that character development. But I mean, right now, Paige, I keep saying that, Mira is pretty angry. And every right to be. Everybody loved Abel. So she's pretty pissed, and she's pissed at the Renegade. And like I said, she thought he was the one who did this. Because, you know, he was accused of violence before. But again, nobody buys that. So then Beck gets called out, and he runs into Cutler. Now, if you remember, Cutler was from the second episode. He fought for the ISOs. It was the guy that he saved, and was gonna help go to other towns to help spread the revolution and whatnot. You know what I mean? So this is Beck's buddy, and he could use him right about now. And he wanted him to give him a message that a giant weapon called a mobile reconditioner, or conditioner, or conditionizer, whatever the hell it's called. That thing, which is coming, and it's his ultimate weapon, but he has a way around it. And so he agrees to go tell Tron, and really he's just gonna, you know, change into his Batman costume, and he does. And then it turns out that Cutler's been reconditioned, so he must have gotten captured and changed. And now he's a bad dude. And he jumps Tron, or he jumps the Renegade, and they fight it out. And then he escapes onto, because they corner him at a pier, he escapes onto a light plane and starts to fly away. They pursue A couple of fighters go after him. He gets in the reconditionizer, the mobile reconditionizer, and follows him, or conditioner, or whatever. And it's an awesome dogfight going on. And Beck is pretty much a better pilot. He outpilots them through a canyon. He even turns on his light trail for a second. People parachuting away, but they end up getting this plane. He jumps onto the next guy's plane, steals that, and it's a lot of moves. Finally, Cutler cuts him off, causing Beck to power off his cycle, his air bike, and they basically come face to face, and he's like, "I know why you're wearing that mask. You're dying, but this can save you. So, you know, think about it." And he leaves. He's like, "We'll be at the pier," basically. So he leaves, and I know what you guys are thinking. Why wouldn't he just take him and make him do it on purpose? Well, part of it is because he didn't think, maybe he didn't think he could take him alive if he didn't volunteer to come in, and especially since he's supposed to be in a weakened condition. And secondly, for plot purposes, you know, Beck had to go get Tron. So Tron gives himself up in full Tron mode, so he has his complete disc. Well, even right before that, let me go back. Right before that, Beck explains things to Tron. Tron's like, "This is possible. It's a reconditionizer. It'll recondition me." And what happens is it pulls out the code and then puts in new code. So when doing that, it's going to extract the virus. So it'll extract the virus and then it'll implant the new code. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is it. This is when Tron goes bad. And so then Beck's like, "Well, what if I stop before the new code gets put in to overwrite your code? Wouldn't that just cure you?" He's like, "Yeah, I think it would." So there's the plan. All right, so now Tron turns himself in. The Cutler puts him in the tank and is beginning the cleaning and extraction process. Meanwhile, Beck is in his old school makeshift Tron gear, the black suit, and he's like getting to where he needs to go and ninjaing around basically. And he's gonna time this right, and he has a timer on his forearm. Now, meanwhile, back at the garage, we have Pavel stops by. He goes, "Due to recent, things, sorry, but it's time to move on for your loss. The military's taking over the garage." He's like, "Welcome to the House of Pain." And, because he was put in charge of that area. So now Pavel's going to make this his home base of operation. He destroys that little cube pet thing that used to belong to Abel. And they're like, "This isn't right." There was, just before they showed up, more talking between Mira and Zed about what's going on. And he's like, "Yeah, but if you really believe the Renegade's Tron, then why would Tron kill Abel? It doesn't make any sense." She's like, "Well," and then she comes to the real reason why she's mad at him. She doesn't honestly believe she really, at the core of her, doesn't believe he killed Abel, but she does believe he didn't save Abel. And then the others are like, "Yeah, that's right." And who's gonna save us, Because that's when Pavel showed up and took over, and it's like, who's gonna save us? And he's like, Zed's like, "Listen, he can't be everywhere at once. That's why, that's probably why Abel died." And, all of this because if Zed said it, this made Mira face it, and the rest of them face it. And they're not actually angry at Tron because they think Tron or the Renegade really did kill him. I mean, part of them did, but in reality, they feel that he didn't save them. So, there you go. Now, the fight, now back to the ship, really fast. Beck fights his way into the room, and at the last possible second, he flips a dude into the tank, thus saving Tron. He gets captured. Tron gets, Cutler's like, "Oh, who are you? You must be the Renegade I've heard so much about." And so that's the first time they realize that there's two dudes. There's Tron and the Renegade, which they think makes a lot of sense because if Tron's been injured, then it makes sense that the Renegade is actually somebody helping Tron. So he's the first villain that actually puts 2 and 2 together because he's forced to, but it happens. So then we have excuse me. So then we have Tron's like, don't worry, I'll take him myself. And then he's like, all right. But obviously Tron's colors haven't changed, so he was never bad. Then they fight their way out of the room. And Tron locks the door with Beck on the outside. He's like, listen, man, good news for you, I'm healthy. Bad news for you, I'm healthy. And he starts whipping people's ass. But then Cutler goes after the Renegade, and they're fighting. Cutler has the advantage and is about to, he's like, I'll repurpose you too. And he takes off the helmet, and he's like, come on, snap out of it. And he sees it's Beck. And for a second, the programming recedes. He flashes to normal. It's like, what's going on? It's going back and forth. Tron joins him outside, and he's like, I can't stop this. And basically, he's losing the battle for his soul. And then he comes back, goes back to being a villain, or insane actually. He has a bomb on him, and he's threatening to kill everybody. He ends up falling over the edge, and because they scuffle, and Beck is trying to save his buddy Cutler, and Tron's like, you gotta let him go because he has a time grenade in his hand. It's gonna go off, and he can't save him. And finally, Beck was forced to let go of Cutler because he really couldn't pull him up because he wasn't trying to be pulled up, and he wasn't letting go of the grenade. Cutler dies with a weird smile on his face. He blows up and takes down the mobile oppression unit there, and the mobile reconditionizer, and it falls right over where the garage is. Everybody rushes outside to go see what's going on. Beck's a little injured. He finds Tron, his legs are pinned, and he's trying to cut his way out, but there's not enough time to find him. So Tron gives Beck back his disc, and then he becomes Tron for a little while as the Renegade. He leads them away, diverts attention. As this is going on, now all the people are watching, and they're watching Tron fight, and Mira finally forgives, or in a way forgives Tron, and she goes, because Pavel's like, why are you guys just watching this fight? Go over and kill. What are you doing? Go kill the Renegade. And so she's like, you're gonna have to get through me. And he's like, what? Why is everybody just watching? Kill her, please, somebody kill her. So then Zed gets behind her, and so does everybody in the garage, and let them know from now on we're all looking out for each other, and the revolution has begun. And you know, Zed's like, welcome to the House of Pain, and Pavel runs away. Meanwhile, you know, finally General Tesler's like, what the fuck has been going on to Paige? She's got to know. But when she shows, I think it has something to do with this. And then this is the cliffhanger. You see a picture of, and then a live shot of over the river, Clue's entire armada is coming to crush Tron. And that's the end of the episode. Now I will say this, Cutler reminded me of, we're going to go with the Batman analogy, Cutler reminded me of Two-Face. Somebody who used to be a good guy and couldn't control the evil, you know, in this case the evil side, which is the reprogrammed side. So he went insane too there. So we saw the death of the Two-Face character. I like that. And you know, Zed is becoming like his Robin, you know, so to speak. And well, I tell you what, if What's-His-Face is back to being Batman, Tron, that means Zed is the Renegade, which is Nightwing, and he even has the Nightwing colors, I think, or the old Nightwing colors. Then there you go. You have Robin and Batgirl chilling there too. So I don't know. I'm just making the Batman analogies. But all in all, I love this episode. The fact that Tron's back and he's badass. The death of Cutler, which and the fact that he had to let him go. The character, the strengthening in the character of Zed, and by the end of the episode, the determination of Mira and their friends backing them up. So it was almost like a Spartacus moment. So I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love this episode. It's crazy. Now, let me quickly get into this show and what was done to the show. Okay, so apparently this was put out about a week ago, that around the 12th or 14th or whatever it was, that they're looking to cancel the show. They say it's because the viewership is down. Now, it's not so much that the show got canceled, because there was a little update to the story, is that the show is not being picked up for renewal. The difference being is, if viewership were to go up, they'd have a reason to renew the show. So it hasn't been officially canceled, it just hasn't been officially renewed. And then it's not going to be renewed. So it's like being put on an indefinite hiatus. The same thing was done to Thundercats on Cartoon Network. So indefinite hiatus, basically, indefinite suspension. You know what I mean? Like they just haven't been renewed. So this is a cop-out. Now, basically, this is what happens to the show. The show is very expensive. They have an A-list cast. This cast is good enough to, well, an A-list for TV anyway. This cast is good enough. The celebrity cast is good enough to, that if this was an animated movie that went to the theaters, this was a good enough cast to be that. So you have that. You also have the fact that the animation is great. And it's a mix of 2D and CG animation. And I'm sure that meant it wasn't cheap. So you have expensive animation, a very good soundtrack I'm going to add, and you have an expensive cast. So this show, Tron, is expensive. Now, I remember when I first heard of the show and heard of the cast behind the show, in my head, how long is this really going to last? I was figuring 1 or 2 seasons, because usually when you put together such a strong cast and a strong setup like this, its expense is high, so if it dips slightly in the ratings, they're going to get rid of it. Now, here's what I think they did. Here is to Disney XD, and they're given this piece of gold called Tron Uprising. They know it's good. People behind the movie and behind Disney know that this project is great. But the people over at Disney XD, the programming directors there, didn't know what to do with the show. They know they had this great thing, but they had no idea what to do with it. They put it at 7:30 on Fridays. I believe that was their time slot when they were new, in the beginning. And people started watching, but I guess it wasn't strong enough. Now, when they took the show off abruptly because they needed to wait for the next episodes to be created or released to stretch out the season, when they brought the show back, they did not, first off, they didn't run reruns of the show when it was out of new episodes. They did for a little while, and then they pulled the show. Now, I will say, the beginning part, they gave the show a hard push in the beginning. But when they brought back the show after its hiatus of like a month or so, or a few weeks, they buried the show at midnight, Sunday night at midnight, or Monday morning at midnight, depending on your point of view, but I'll call it Sunday at midnight. And they buried the show there. And then they didn't air any reruns throughout the day. You just had to catch it Sundays at midnight. And there was no lead-in show or follow-up show worthy of it. I think now they're putting the new Spider-Man episodes behind there. But Spider-Man's funny, and I think both shows are good, but they should have set up some sort of block and put it in. The problem is, with the exception of the Avengers, Spider-Man, which is a comedy, not really, it's an action comedy with the emphasis of comedy, and Tron, that's it. They are their only action shows. The other shows they have, I mean, that Slug show doesn't really count. It's not in the same quality. So they basically have comedies, you know? Kick Buttowski, I love that show, by the way. Phineas and Ferb, which I love too. But they have those other shows, but they can't air Tron with those shows. And they can't air Tron with their live action shows. So you see the dilemma they were in. They had no programming lineup to make Tron work. So the decision must have come down, listen, right now, if we leave it at 7:30, it's getting just enough ratings to get by, but not enough ratings to make us a lot of money. So the programming director buried it at midnight, knowing this, without warning people first, knowing that this would kill the viewership. Because now, anybody who is younger who is watching the show can't. That leaves people like me watching the show. Which is fine, because I love watching the show, but that's not fair to everybody else who does like to watch the show. So they put it there specifically to kill and tank the ratings, so that the network's executives would have no choice but to kill the show. This was an intentional move done to kill the show, and you can't tell me it wasn't. Which is a shame. And because of how they ended the show, which I thought was a good ending, and they left it open with a cliffhanger, it didn't do the job, which is filling in the gap between movie 1 and 2. Now, we are promised a movie 3, so if you're a Tron fan, the third picture is moving forward. So basically, if you watch the show, they may bring it back. If we all watch at midnight on Sundays. The problem is, I have no idea if they're going to even be airing next week, because when the show's out of episodes, they like pulling the show. So who knows if it'll even be there next week. So I'm kind of pissed that that Toonami XD ruined this show. But it has been a pleasure doing my Tron reviews for you guys. Now, if they decide to bring back the show, you will see me come back doing Tron. But it doesn't look like they are. So, I do other reviews. You know, I do Hunter x Hunter 2011, that show. I do, as far as American animation is concerned, I do the DC Nation stuff. So, you know, you'll catch Green Lantern and Young Justice. I also have 2 seasonal animes I'm currently doing as well, which is Hey Ken did 8 Dogs of the East, and Katura-san, which is the other show I do. Currently, I have other things on hiatus, like I have Green Blood on hiatus, which is the manga I review. When it comes back, I will review that as well. And I also do Transformers Prime, but that's also on a break, and it won't be back to the fall, or to the spring. So, anyway, just to give you the idea of what else I do, and I also have one more video coming out that I'm doing right after this. And by the way, which is I'm gonna do a review on Blood Seed. And by the way, this is just over. I just noticed that I just breached 100 videos. I think I have 47 subscribers and something like 33,000 or 34,425 views. So I'd like to thank all of you guys for making that possible. Again, click it up if you like it, comment if you must, and please, please, please subscribe if you can. And this is alertwolf signing off.